time we hit it, we make it more powerful. We can't attack.
What are you saying?
I'm saying it's unkillable.
What's up, guys? Boy, Benny. Life certainly does imitate art. For years now, we have been playing this clip of the mentally ill, screaming lib, full-blown Trump derangement syndrome, laughing and making memes and thinking it's really, really funny. Little did we realize how utterly deep-rooted this was inside of the Democrat Party. This is, in fact, the emotional and mental and IQ state of the modern-day Democrat Party. This is the leftist movement, perfectly encapsulated into a screaming, perfectly deranged, unhappy, bitter, miserable, androgynous lib who has nothing to live for now that Donald Trump has been elected president. Life is over, right? And so we must stop Donald Trump from being elected president. We must break every single rule. We must rip him from the ballots, and it doesn't matter. The laws be damned. The Supreme Court be damned. The Constitution be damned. We don't like Donald Trump, so everything is permissible. Breaking: Donald Trump has been removed from Illinois Republican primary ballots after a judge orders him to be disqualified over the roll on January 6th. This wasn't even the Supreme Court. This wasn't even like a state elected official, like in Maine, like an attorney general. Not that any of those are even better. So like Colorado or Maine, this is literally just a single judge inside of the insane Cook County judiciary. This judge is a lunatic, a Trump deranged sociopath, and she just decided herself that she didn't like Trump and therefore you can't vote for Trump. I mean, it is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it is breathtaking, the derangement. We used to laugh at it. Now you are seeing it on full display, and it is so utterly embarrassing, actually, for these people. Remember, this is the party of, but my democracy, but my democracy. Here's the judge, Cook County Circuit Judge Tracy Porter, who wears a little butterfly necklace. Tracy Porter. Some absolute dingbat has decided that Donald Trump engaged in insurrection, even though he hasn't been charged with insurrection. Donald Trump's been charged with 500,000 things. Insurrection isn't one of them. And even though the insurrection case and stripping Trump off the ballot, the 14th Amendment case that they're all using, is going down in flames. So this is clearly somebody who's trying to just make a name for herself. It's become really, quite frankly, embarrassing. But this is also from Cook County, and there's a real reason why somebody in Cook County would wish to strike Donald Trump from the ballot. The reason would obviously be that that's where Barack Obama's from, and also Cook County is the single county in Illinois that allows Democrats to win Illinois. Without that one county, Donald Trump wins Illinois by a massive margin. Donald Trump wins every other county in Illinois. That single county, which of course is Chicago, encapsulates and encompasses all of the voter bloc in Illinois. And so this lady wishes to essentially preserve that, along with preserving, potentially just styling her hair like Donald Trump's. What is this with like Joey Reid and this lady? Like, why are they all getting Trump hair? They're obsessed with him. They just want Trump to pay attention to them. It's obvious what's going on here. Pay attention to me, Donald. Judge orders President Trump removed from ballot in Illinois. Oh boy. Not like Cook County doesn't have other bad things going on. Judge orders the removal of Trump from the state ballot. Yes, this is happening all over again, ladies and gentlemen.
The great defenders of democracy have now kicked Trump off another state ballot. Of course, this happened in Cook County, and Illinois Circuit Judge Tracy Porter has ruled that former President Trump is disqualified from the state's March 19th primary ballot and the general election over the, quote, anti-insurrection clause.
Oh, okay, got him this time. Oh boy, you got him this time. The 14th Amendment. Well, that is actually before the Supreme Court right now. So this Illinois judge has acted by herself, effectively. One radical judge can remove a presidential candidate from the ballot because she doesn't like him. I mean, that is true. Like, because she's just a miserable, bitter person, right? You can see that, quite frankly, from her resume here. Illinois Supreme Court appoints Tracy Porter, at-large circuit judge. She's not even on the Supreme Court. She's a circuit judge for Cook County. She's spent her entire career working for the federal government or academia. That's it. She worked at the Department of Labor. Okay. So she is a left-wing Marxist Department of Labor, and she's focused on equity and diversity and inclusion in all of her work. Oh, yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Porter is not married. Miss Porter is a proud aunt and surrogate mother to 2 nieces and nephews. Ladies and gentlemen, find things that actually provide lasting meaning in your life. Do not get bogged down in slaving away for the man and miss the actual overall greater meaning in life. Seriously, fall in love, get married, have kids. It actually provides much better purpose and clarity to life. You don't become such a lunatic like these people who have nothing to live for but politics, nothing to live for but Trump. Like if you're a normal centered person with purpose in life, then you don't look like this. This is literally the judge in Chicago right now. There you go. All right, so let's look at this sucker. Judge orders President Trump removed from the ballot in Illinois. On Wednesday, a judge removed Donald Trump from the state's ballot. The decision made is based on the invasion clause in the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Yet Chicago is literally experiencing their own invasion right now of criminal aliens, but nothing's been done for that. In her ruling, Judge Porter says that she knows her decision could not be the ultimate outcome. These people, they don't believe in God. They believe they themselves are gods on this earth, and they act like it. It's derangement. It's true derangement. She's reviewed an extensive body of evidence and from MSNBC, I'm sure, and determined that he's disqualified from the presidency. Oh, thank you, Judge. You're so special, Judge Porter. It's a critical decision, adding to the decision of Colorado and Maine. Oh, wow. Stephen Chung, a spokesperson of the Trump campaign, downplayed the decision, attributing it to a Democrat activist liberal judge in Illinois who summarily overruled the state's Board of Elections and contradicted earlier decisions from dozens of other state and federal jurisdiction. It's an unconstitutional ruling, and we will quickly appeal. This is what Stephen Chung said. He's the spokesperson for Donald Trump. So, Jonathan Turley, one of our favorite political commentators, legal commentators, said a Cook County Judge, Tracy Porter, just added Illinois to the 2 other states stripping Trump from the ballot. While wildly popular with people in Cook County, where I was raised, this is, of course, the Democrat supernova superstructure in Illinois, it is wildly at odds with our Democrat values. Rather than wait for the court to rule, Porter waited to claim the distinction while giving Trump's counsel just a couple days to appeal. Really, these people, like Stalin and Lenin, would be really proud of these people. Speaking of potential issues that perhaps were more important than something that Donald Trump hasn't been charged with, and a post-Civil War Reconstruction amendment in the Constitution, 617 people were murdered in Chicago last year. There are 2,500 shootings, but this is what Democrats are worried about. Yeah, that's right. Democrat Chicago is a literal hellhole. But Trump, right? But Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, the Supreme Court has been destroying these cases and listened to the petitioner from Colorado trying to explain why they think that liberal judges should summarily be allowed to deny Americans the right to vote. Here we go.
That would suggest that there would at least be a few examples of national candidates being disqualified, if your reading is correct.
Well, there were certainly national candidates who were disqualified by Congress refusing to seat them.
I understand that, but that's not this case. If you are right, what are the examples?
Well, Your Honor, the examples are states excluded many candidates for state office, individuals holding state offices.
I understand the states controlling state elections and state positions. What we are talking about here are national candidates.
Okay. Getting absolutely hammered, getting the swift gavel of Clarence Thomas shoved directly up your ass. Ketanji Brown Jackson, one of the lowest IQ, very low wattage members of the court, even she is saying, isn't this against democracy? Like how can one state decide who's allowed to run for president? that like fundamentally does not seem to work and also could horribly backfire. There's a clip that is going around right now from a Lex Friedman podcast that just dropped, Tucker Carlson, kind of like perfectly explaining what's going on here. Tucker Carlson talking about how Democrats will and have already broken every single rule in order to rig and meddle in American elections because they hate Trump so much. That Trump has truly broken these people and they'll never return to sanity. And they wish to take the country down with them. I mean, if they can't have full control of this place, they'll burn it to the ground. Tucker Carlson talking about how elections get rigged and stolen by Democrats breaking the rules.
100% stolen. Are you
like
joking?
It was rigged to that large of a degree.
They completely change the way people vote right before the election on the basis of COVID, which had nothing to do
So
with
in
it.
that way, it was rigged, meaning
100%.
like
And then
manipulated.
Then you censor the information people are allowed to get. Anyone who complains about COVID, which is like, by the way, it might have hurt Trump. But I mean, it's like whatever. I mean, you could play it many different ways. You can't have censorship in a democracy by definition. Here's how it works. The people rule. They vote for representatives to carry their agenda to the capital city and get it enacted. That's how they're in charge. And then every few years, they get to reassess the performance of those people in an election. In order to do that, they need access, unfettered access to information. And no one, particularly not people who are already in power, is allowed to tell them what information they can have. They have to have all information that they want. Whether the people in charge want it or don't want it or think it's true or think it's false, it doesn't matter. And the second you don't have that, you don't have a democracy. It's not a free election, period.
Tucker Carlson doing that interview, presumably before states started stripping Donald Trump off the ballot. I think that these interviews are filmed way ahead of their actual release, right? And so, ladies and gentlemen, Tucker Carlson talking about simply the rigging of information and censorship and the election procedures, which of course we all knew. So many election procedures were illegal in 2020. So many procedures to check mail-in ballots and check signature verifications and so forth were shoved down the throats of states, done in a way that was totally unconstitutional, and done in a way that would, of course, benefit Joe Biden. But now they're terrified. Now that Trump has come roaring back, and he's more popular than ever, and he's pulling outside the margins of fraud. So they need to depend on people like this, lunatics and activists like this, that are trying to make a name for themselves, or presumably, mark my words, run for office. Right? That's what's going to happen. Letitia James. This is going to be like run for office. Fannie Willis, Letitia James. This is like a card that you play. That you did this to Donald Trump. This should, in every sane society, be the destroyer of your career. And we need to make it the destroyer of your career. There's some expert that was just on Laura Ingram's show talking about how there needs to be penalties for these kind of judges. Like these kind of judges that like overrule like the state boards and act way outside of the boundary of what is legal and what is common law. Like there needs to be penalties enacted. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with this very frank and profound discussion on the topic. I think that is actually the way that you fix these things. Judges must know that there will be professional consequences to them if they are seen to be political activists from the bench and using their office for political agenda and enrichment. Period. Right? I think that's like obvious when it comes to these kind of cases. When it comes to this, right? She overruled like hundreds of other people and people inside the judiciary and the Illinois Elections Board to just say, I'm God, I don't like Trump, TDS, Orange Man bad, right? Consequences for judges. This is the next thing that must happen. Professional consequences for judges. Okay? This is the conversation on Laura Ingraham. Here we go.
Trump off another state ballot. Of course, this happened in Cook County, and Illinois Circuit Judge Tracy Porter has ruled that former President Trump is disqualified from the state's March 19th primary ballot and the general election over the, quote, anti-insurrection clause. Joining me now is Saul Weisenberg, former deputy independent counsel and Fox News contributor, and also back with us because of this breaking news, David Schoen, former Trump impeachment attorney. Saul, this never ceases to amaze me, but as all of these individuals are screaming about Russian election interference. Navalny is persecuted, all these political prisoners across, and now they need to knock him off the ballot. So no one has the opportunity to vote for him. Your reaction tonight?
Well, the arrogance of this is appalling, and waiting until this late in the day to do it, giving the former president, just until Friday to file an appeal to the Supreme Court. It's already Wednesday. And then to say, apparently at the end of it, she issues an order that says my ruling will be further stayed if the U.S. Supreme Court enters an opinion inconsistent with this order. Well, guess what? If they do what most people think they're going to do, they're going to enter an opinion that makes it impossible for Illinois to take him off the ballot. So the arrogance of that is just, it shouldn't astonish me, but it does.
Yeah, Tracy Porter, a Democrat appointee, joined the bench in 2021. Very, very liberal. Cook County is known for these type of judges. David, 31 states in total now have sued to kick the former president off the ballot. All right. Again, I want to repeat to everybody, as the Democrats are claiming they're running Joe Biden for re-election to protect democracy. They have to defeat Trump to protect democracy. Okay. All 3 have been successful. Those states in red, Maine, Colorado, and now Illinois. How is this democracy, David?
It's not democracy. It's as anti-democratic as it gets. They're going to get slammed by the Supreme Court. Illinois has long, and especially Cook County, long been heavy-handed with ballot access. I had to go into the federal district court there to challenge the constitutionality of ballot access law, and another heavy-handed move they made. They slammed them. They were so adamant about it. When I went to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, they sent 6 lawyers in to argue against me, and they lost again. They're going to lose this time. It's horrible. It sends a terrible message to the American people. Why are they afraid of the ballot? The ballot is what really makes this country work.
Yeah, they're looking at the polls. If Trump were down 30 points in the polls, I don't think any of these cases would have been brought. But Alito raised a good point at the oral arguments. Watch.
If what Colorado did here is sustained, other states are going to retaliate, and they're going to potentially exclude another candidate from the ballot. What about that situation?
I don't think that this court should take those threats too seriously in its resolution of this case.
You don't think that's a serious threat?
Well, that's one of many great points that were raised in the obviously the seminal case that will decide all of this, Saul. But I mean, this could be keep going forward, tit for tat. You take my guy off, we're going to take your guy off, and so on and so on.
Well, it's not going to be, because the Supreme Court is going to issue an opinion that makes it clear that a state does not have the power to do this. Number one, the state can't kick him off the ballot. Number two, the state cannot put a condition on being a presidential on the presidential ballot that is greater than what the Constitution calls for. So I don't think we're gonna reach that. But it's very, you know what they say about Cook County: vote early and vote often. Yeah. So as David says, this is completely consistent with their pathetic history of election non-integrity.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting election fraud. Here's what this judge, Tracy Porter, who was responsible for this outrageous decision tonight in Illinois, this is what she said when she was appointed back in 2021. She said, "My motto is impacting lives and changing communities. And that is how I will approach this new position." David, last time I checked, that's not the role of a judge. That's the role perhaps of an activist or an NGO or maybe a representative. But she's put it right out there for us.
Yeah, and actually her role ought to be the enforcement of the Constitution, the First and 14th Amendment rights of the voters to vote for a candidate of their choice and of the candidate to be on the ballot. This is absolutely wrong. It's going to get slammed, but they ought to shut it down immediately. And she should probably be sanctioned because she knows what she did is wrong.
Right.
She knows the matter is pending at the Supreme Court.
Yeah, Saul, that's a very good point. I mean, not to get too wonky here, but they know this is going to be overturned. But it was like she had to put down her chit here and say, I'm with those people. Like she wanted to get recognition for doing this. This was an act of complete narcissism on her part.